Welcome back to the studio. You're watching Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm Shona Bhattacharya. Here's a look at our top stories. In this edition, familiar faces in Ivory Coast's new government. President Alassane Ouattara named two close allies to be the country's vice president and prime minister, according to constitutional changes passed back in November. Gambia's communication minister resigns as a court tells incumbent President Jammeh it cannot hear his petition on voter fraud before May. Meanwhile, a delegation to mediate the ongoing political crisis delays its visit to the country to Friday. And the patriarch of one of the continent's leading sports families has died. Footballer Zachary Noah passed away at 79. His tennis-playing son Yannick spoke to France 24 about his final days. A new government with familiar faces in Ivory Coast. President Alassane Ouattara named close ally Amadou Gon Coulibaly as prime minister. Outgoing Prime Minister Daniel Duncan, who resigned and dissolved the government on Monday, was named vice president, a position created under new constitutional changes. They were expected but pushed back due to a two-day mutiny by disgruntled soldiers. Nicolas Germain has the story.
This is Amadou Gon Coulibaly, Ivory Coast's new Prime Minister. He was named on Tuesday evening. The announcement did not come as a surprise. Amadou Gon Coulibaly is one of President Ouattara's closest allies. They are from the same party, the RDR. Coulibaly is expected to name his cabinet in the next few days. A little earlier, Ouattara named Daniel Duncan Vice President of Ivory Coast. It's a new post that was created under a constitution approved by referendum late last year. Ouattara showered Duncan with praise.
He is a man of experience. He's served the state well and has displayed exceptional personal and professional qualities in all the high-ranking jobs he has occupied.
Ouattara congratulated Duncan, but also Guillaume Soro, who has just been re-elected Speaker of the National Assembly. But with the creation of the post of vice president, he is no longer the state's second most important figure. Soro is a former rebel chief who once controlled the northern half of the country. He later served as prime minister between 2007 and 2012.
Adding to the political confusion in Gambia, a court has delayed President Yahya Jammeh's challenge to last month's presidential results until Monday. The court does not have enough judges to hear the case, as it only has one sitting judge. Also, Gambia's communication minister, Sheriff Bojang, quit his post as a nod to the vote results that declared Adama Barrow the winner. Meanwhile, a mediation visit by regional leaders from the West African ECOWAS bloc has been pushed back to Friday. Rodaba Abbas has more.
Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari greeted leaders from 3 ECOWAS nations on Monday. The presidents of Liberia and Senegal, as well as Ghana, are working with Nigeria to find a solution to ensure that Gambia receives a peaceful transition of power. Its current president, Yahya Jammeh, is refusing to step down after losing last month's election to opposition rival Adama Barrow. Jammeh initially accepted the result of the election, but later rejected the outcome and called for a fresh vote. Nigeria's Foreign Affairs Minister said the talks in Abuja were focused on the steps to tackle the political crisis.
They agreed on their determination to resolve the Gambian political crisis in a manner that at every step of the way conforms with the Constitution of the Gambia and respects the will of the people of Gambia.
The ECOWAS states have appointed Nigeria and Liberia to mediate with Yahya Jammeh. They will visit Gambia for a second time this week to try and convince him to step down. Jammeh has held on to his seat of power for 22 years. His mandate is due to end on the 18th of January, the day of newly elected Barrow's inauguration. ECOWAS says it will apply diplomatic solutions, but has also threatened to send troops led by neighbouring Senegal to Gambia if President Yahya Jammeh does not step down. Jammeh has responded by calling that a declaration of war.
Let's take a look at what else is making headlines around the continent, and they say it's for security reasons. Moroccan authorities have outlawed the production and sale of burqas, Islamic veils originally from Afghanistan that cover a woman's entire body with a kind of netting over the eyes. The ban came in the form of a memorandum, though for now the burqa itself is still allowed. Burqas are rare in Morocco, though niqabs that are similar are worn by women in conservative households. Either Kenya's doctors return to work or they could be fired. That's according to the government, as more than 5,000 doctors and nurses continue their month-long strike. On Tuesday, a court issued arrest warrants against 7 medical officials who are accused of ignoring a judge's order to call off the strike, ruling it was illegal. Kenyan doctors and nurses walked off the job on December 5th and demand the full implementation of a 2013 collective bargaining agreement that promised them a 300% raise and other improved conditions. Several thousand people attended the funeral service for Burundi's environment minister, including President Pierre Nkurunziza and top government officials. 54-year-old Emmanuel Niyonkuru was killed shortly after midnight on January 1st as he was walking home. Police called his death an assassination, though the motive for the attack remains unclear. 6 people, including 2 women, were arrested in connection with the killing over the weekend. Saying goodbye to a legend and a patriarch. Zachary Noah died in his native Yaoundé in Cameroon. The former football player was well surrounded when he passed. He's expected to be buried next Wednesday. His son, former tennis champion Yannick Noah, spoke to France 24 about his father's final days.
I think it's a blessing to be able to live these moments with your father and be with him until the last minute. He was at peace, he was ready to go. He gave us time for us to be ready, and we are ready, even though we are obviously very sad.
More sports news. This time in Gabon, President Ali Bongo inaugurated 2 new stadiums just in time for the Africa Cup of Nations. That kicks off this Saturday. Oyem and Port-Gentil Stadium took months to complete by 2 different Chinese construction companies. Together, they can seat more than 40,000 fans. But Gabon's opposition calls for the boycott of the tournament. It's taking place just 6 months after post-election violence marked Ali Bongo's controversial re-election.
For anyone to call for a boycott just at the moment when the African continent has placed its trust in us is not worthy of our nation and national pride. We must show ourselves to be worthy of the trust placed in us by Africa. We will not show our grandeur through a boycott.
And we end this bulletin with the music of Ablaye Mbaye. Senegal is in mourning. The 35-year-old blind singer died after suddenly falling ill on Monday while recording his latest album, Intérêt Général, which is due to be released next month. Do stay with us on France 24. There's more news coming up next, and we leave you with some of the music of Ablaye Mbaye.